On a grey afternoon last February, the King of England listened for 40 minutes and did nothing. The call came from his only sister. It was about his wife. And by the time he set the receiver down, the most important decision of Camilla's life had already been made for her. He made it by saying nothing at all. There was one sentence that could have stopped everything that followed. One call, one order. He never made it. And once you understand why, you will never look at this marriage the same way again. Here is the thing almost nobody will say out loud. The king did not betray his wife. He stopped defending her. And in this family, that quiet difference is everything. For nearly 30 years, you were handed a tidy version of this story. Diana was the wife. Camilla was the other woman. Charles was the man trapped in the middle. That version fits on a magazine cover. It is also wrong. Charles was never trapped. He chose. He chose out loud, in front of the whole country. In 1994, he sat for a television interview and confessed to being unfaithful. He said it plainly. Millions of people watched. He was not cornered into it. He volunteered it. But here is where it gets strange, because the woman at the center of that confession was already a secret to no one. Then came the autumn of 1995. Diana sat in a quiet room, looked into the camera, and delivered one of the most unforgettable lines in modern history. If you watched that interview when it first aired, you remember exactly where you were. You remember the stillness in her face. You remember how the whole country went quiet. She was 36 when she died in a Paris tunnel in August 1997. Her marriage had been over for years. But the third person in it did not fade away. Camilla stayed close to Charles. She married him in 2005. He had confessed on television. He married her anyway. He made her his queen. And for 30 years, every move he made was a move to protect her. He shielded her from the press. He waited out the public anger. He rebuilt her image one careful year at a time. Whatever else you say about this man, he defended that woman with a patience most people could never manage. Which is exactly why what he is doing now is so hard to explain, unless you understand what he finally saw. This is where it stops being an old love story and starts becoming something colder. To understand the king's silence, you have to start with his son. William was 15 years old when he walked behind his mother's coffin in September 1997. The whole world watched a boy with his hands flat at his sides and his face giving away nothing. He has never written about that walk. He has never sat for a film about it. He simply carried it. People close to him say the grief never turned loud. It turned patient. And patient grief in a man who now controls one of the oldest estates in Britain is a different kind of force entirely. Then there is Anne. Long before Camilla married Charles, before she even married Andrew Parker Bowles, and was the woman Andrew was seeing. That was the early 1970s. The press wrote about it. It is in the public record, not in gossip. And people who know and say she filed that away the way she files everything, not as heartbreak, as information. Information about exactly how comfortable Camilla had always been, taking what belonged to other women. What they did with that information next, nobody saw coming. Charles is not blind to any of this. He is the king. Very little moves inside that family without reaching his desk. He knows what his son is doing. He knows what his sister is doing. He has known for a long time. And that is the quiet horror at the center of all of this. A king can protect almost anyone in his kingdom, except the wife he has decided to stop choosing. He has not raised his voice. He has not issued an order. He has simply taken his hand off the shield. And kept the memory. William kept the money. Charles kept the silence. And the pattern outside those closed rooms is visible to anyone watching. In early 2025, Charles signed paperwork extending the power to grant royal warrants to William and his wife. Royal warrants are the Crown's formal stamp of approval. Handing that power to the next generation while still on the throne is not a small gesture. It is a signal about where the weight of the Crown is being moved. Then the patronages began to shift. When the late Queen died in September 2022, several that had been quietly lining up for Camilla went elsewhere.
No announcement.
No statement. Just a list that no longer had her name where her name should have been. The Duchy of Cornwall passed to William when his grandmother died. It has run as a working estate since the 1300s and brings in around £30 million a year. One of the first things to change was Camilla's own sister. Annabel Elliot had worked across duchy properties for nearly 20 years. Then her name simply stopped appearing. No row, no goodbye, no statement, no defense, no call from a king. The whole circle Camilla had built around herself for 2 decades started looking thinner at every gathering. But nothing could have prepared her for what came next. Tom Parker Bowles, Camilla's son, reportedly found certain invitations drying up. Doors that had been open quietly closed. Then came the Sarah Ferguson problem. Ferguson's name surfaced in the Epstein files released by the United States Department of Justice. No evidence of criminal wrongdoing on her part, but in this climate, the connection alone is radioactive. Sources say William's message to Camilla was blunt. Step away from Ferguson publicly and for good, or carry the cost yourself. Camilla reportedly refused. Ferguson was a friend long before any of this. And here is the part that matters. In the old days, this is exactly the kind of fight Charles would have stepped into on her behalf. He did not. He let her stand in it alone. And just before Christmas 2024, a property listing appeared. Ray Mill House in Wiltshire. The country home Camilla had owned since before she ever married Charles. The one place that was entirely hers. She once called its garden the best therapy in the world. It sold within 48 hours. Not slowly. Fast. The way you sell something when you have decided you no longer get to keep it. Camilla can feel all of it and point to none of it. She has reportedly demanded explanations. She has asked why the invitations stopped, why the patronages moved, why doors that used to open easily are heavier than they used to be. The answers come back procedural, polite, and final. You cannot file a complaint about a feeling. You cannot fight a pattern nobody will admit exists. And here is the moment everyone keeps waiting for. The moment the king finally steps in for his wife. The husband who confessed on television to be with her. The man who married her against the will of half the country. Surely when it came to it, he would protect her. That is the ending this story is supposed to have. It is not the ending it has. Because Charles understands exactly what his son is doing. He understands exactly what his sister is doing. And he has decided to let both of them finish. He is 76. He was diagnosed with cancer in February 2024. He has held his public life together with real discipline through 2 hard years. He simply has no fight left to spend on a war about Diana. There is a story going around the household about and from earlier this year. A senior figure reportedly asked her whether all of this was too harsh on Camilla, and is said to have answered in 5 words. Diana deserves the truth. Whether those were the exact words or not, the meaning is unmistakable. When and stops protecting someone, everyone in the room reads it instantly. His silence right now is louder than any answer he could give. He did not betray her. After 30 years of shielding her from everything, he simply stopped defending her. And silence from a king is not absence. It is a verdict. Diana never lived to see this. She got a tunnel in Paris and 2 boys without a mother and a family that barely lowered its flags. But something is happening now that she did not live to see. Her son holds the money. Her sister-in-law holds the history. And the one man who could have stood between them and his wife has quietly stepped aside. Camilla took the marriage 30 years ago. She never took the thing that mattered. This is not revenge. It is something quieter and far more permanent. It is the king choosing, for the first time in 3 decades, not to choose her. So let me ask you something, and I genuinely want to read your answers. Where were you in 1994 when you watched him confess on television? What did you think of him in that moment? And what do you think of his silence now? Tell me in the comments. I will be reading every single one.